Hello, how is everyone today? Um, a lovely dosage that we'll have today. Been long, miss you big time, miss you so much. And how has it been going? How has it been for you? How has it been, everyone? Now, the most important thing you have to know that football has come a long way, and there's so much involved in football, especially on the aspect of players and player welfare. So the problem has been you find a player would sign a contract with a club, and they would stay at the club. When a time to leave comes, you had contract problems. You'd find a club would rise up and say, this player is on a contract, we can't release him, or this player wants to move. There's so much that is involved around. You'd find the release clause is just so much clear, and certain clauses that are involved in the contract. The player just signed the contract blindly. There's just so much that will be covered in this area. So most players would confirm and not know that they may have signed a contract blindly, and they don't know what it takes and what to look out for in signing a new contract as a football player for a new football club. So this video has been brought about because I received a question one day. One of my close friends asked me, what are the key factors you're supposed to consider when signing a contract as a football player? What do you need to do? What do you need to look into as a football player? What are the main things that you're supposed to look out for? So without further ado, let's just share one or two things that are supposed to be looked out for when you're signing a contract as a football player. So number one, you're supposed to understand the future plans and the current situation of the club that you are signing for. So you must understand that what club has approached you and they want to sign you, what plans do they have as a club, and what plans do they have for you as an individual, as a player in the future? How many years have they put for you on the table? And on those on what's on the table, how much guarantee do you have that you'll be able to deliver all your best in those years that they've put for you? The years are not just brought up because they will say, no, let's give him so many years, maybe he will help us win promotion. So if you're at a club where it's, let's say, a National League club, and they're aiming to win promotion in the next 3 years, is it aligning with your goals as well as a football player? So you must understand all those things. Is the club where you're going for aiming for promotion, and is it in line with your goals as a football player? So your goals are supposed to match with the club's ambition at the same time. So the club's ambition, yes, you might have different goals at the same time in those ends. You might just want game time, you might just want playing time, but are your goals in line with the club's ambition? If you're in the Premier League, where you are at a Premier League club, are you at that club wanting to win the league, or you're just doing it for the sake of no, I just want to be in the Premier League for the sake of the name of the Premier League as that player? So there's just so many factors that's involved. So we have covered that. You're supposed to understand the future plans of the club and the current situation of the club that you are at. You see, so if they give you the years, you must digest, what goal does this club have for me in the next 3 years? What do they want to achieve? Do they want to win the league? Do they want to stay, or are they surviving relegation? And you as a person, are those in line with what you want as well? Do you want to win the league? Do you just want to survive relegation? Or do you want to win trophies? Or do you want just game time? So that's one way to look at it. That's point number one. Now, before I go any further to point number two, you must understand something as a player. All these things, they may seem a bit strange or just strenuous or too much, but let's look at it this way. You must know that at the end of the day, a contract must be a mutual benefit between you and the club of where you're going to. So if you're going to play for that club where you are, it must be mutual benefit. It must be you gain something at the end of it, and the club gains something from you. It's a two-way thing. So you must know what you're delivering to the club. So which leads me to point number two. You must understand, what are you gaining from that contract? So what are you gaining from that contract as a player? Game time is very important, but your welfare as well as a player is very important. You must understand that is the club putting your welfare number one. You see, in that contract, if you are to sign a 3-year contract, how much have they put as a release clause? How much are you gaining from your sign-on fee? How much is your basic pay? How much is your monthly salary? How much is your winning bonus? And if the club was to breach that, how will they be able to compensate you? You must know all those things. So what are you gaining from that club? You must consider that before you sign a contract. You must know, you must be clear of how much you are gaining, not just in monetary form, as well as you might be looking at gaining experience to play in higher leagues if you are coming from a lower league, or you just want game time. You see, so you must be clear of what you want to gain from that club before you even sign the contract, so that to avoid any unwanted and unforeseen scenarios that have happened in the past before. We've seen situations where a player would say, no, I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I wanted as a player. This is not what I've always wanted to win the league. You're just playing for promotion. So all those things are supposed to be taken into account. Then another thing that is supposed to be understood in value exchange, it's the fact that if you are going to be at a club, let's say you want to commit your years, how much are you going to give to the club as well? How often will you be turning up for training, delivering 100%? And if you are injured, what are the clauses in the contract? Is the club going to take up the costs, or is it you to take up the costs, or is it you to meet the cost halfway and the club will meet the cost halfway as well? So all those are supposed to be taken into account, and be sure of how much you'll be getting out of the club and what the club will be getting out of you. So all those are supposed to be cleared out as soon before you even sign a contract. So most players make a mistake of signing a contract and not knowing how much they're standing to gain from that contract and how much the club is standing to gain from that same contract. So these are simple factors that are supposed to be looked into and are very, very important for you as a football player. Not just as a football player, even as a coach as well. You might sign, coaches as well sign contracts, and coaches get easily fired. So you must understand the whole point of having that contract and putting up that in mind. Then another thing that that is supposed to be taken into account is the value. You must know the clauses. What clauses are in those contracts? Are the clauses favoring you? So what I mean by clauses in the contract, the terms and conditions, let me put it in a simple way. The terms and conditions of the contract. Are the terms and conditions of the contract saying that you're supposed to play so many games at that particular time? Are the terms and conditions in that contract saying that you're supposed to be at that club for over 5 years and you'll be getting an annual, a monthly salary of this much? And the clauses in the contract saying that if any club would come to buy you, they have to produce this much. What's your release clause? So you must understand each term and condition. That's why we find most Zambian players would go to another club, and that club will say, no, they didn't clear us. This player has a running contract with us. So these are the clauses, one of the things that are supposed to include. And the clause is one of the most important things to understand in a contract. You must read the contract fully, the whole paper. If it's 10 pages, read the whole 10 pages and understand what's needed for you to sign up for that team. One more thing that you're supposed to understand about a clause, you're supposed to look out for your release clause, 1. Number 2, your bonuses as a football player or as a coach. Number 3, understand the legal clauses that are involved with you as well. And as well as your image rights. Not only image rights, some people say no, images don't work in Zambia. They do work. And as well, you're supposed to understand another key factor that is usually overlooked, your health insurance. You see, if you are injured, how much is the club spending to take you back to normal fitness as well at the same time? So there are so many things that are involved, and try to understand in those areas. So know your clauses very well as a club, and all these things can be made possible and can be looked on further if you are a good football player, you have a very good manager. This is where a manager comes into play. You're supposed to have a good manager and a good agent. You see, so you might have all those things in place, but if you don't have a good manager to negotiate your interest at heart and interest at hand, you might not achieve what you want. You see, so there are so many factors that involved, but for more factors, just be glued to the Sporty Dosage and see if there will be any updates that will be coming out soon. So so far, we've talked about 3 factors that are involved. You must, one, I'll recap on them. One, your future plans. What are your future plans and the current situation at that place where you're going to, or where you're signing the contract to? And number 2, what are you gaining? What's the value exchange that is between you and that place where you're signing to? Then number 3, the clauses in the contract. Are you clear and are you comfortable with the clauses in the contract? So these has been the dosage with me, and look out for the new episode very soon that is coming out. We'll talk more on player contracts and factors that are supposed to be looked out to. So keep it cool, keep it going, and thank you very much for joining me. And remember to like, share, and comment. Thank you very much.